See this? Well, don't do this. Why? Well, if you want to find out some things that you should not do in Identity V, then stick around and watch this video. So it is quite difficult to be self-critical and think back to all the mistakes that you made during a given match. Some of the reasons are obvious as to why you lost, and some reasons are less obvious to why you've lost. But there are some mistakes that you're probably making, especially if you're a newer player. So let's start with the first thing that you should never do. One mistake that I see a lot of new beginner players do is they drop pallets way too soon. By that I mean closing the pallets on a hunter. So hunters are usually very afraid of pallets. They don't want to waste their time by getting pallets done. So usually a hunter will attack right before they see a pallet to make sure that they can hit someone if they drop it. This happens even in higher tiers. In most cases, for beginner and newer players, this leads to people getting hit while they're dropping the pallet, and you're now one hit away from being knocked down. Unless you know how to drop a pallet like I've spoken about in the previous video. So, in most cases, what I would do is not drop the pallet unless the hunter is right next to you. What you should do is you should run through the pallet and keep on running. Maybe run to the left or to the right, or if necessary just keep on running straight. Because in most cases the hunter will actually try and attack the pallet, and when they're in this attack animation, they will get a very short attack recovery animation, but this will still give you more time to make some distance between you and the hunter. That is very important when kiting. As I said, usually it's a good idea to throw the pallet down if the hunter is getting too close to you. Now, if they're at a distance, you don't really want to waste that pallet, because once that pallet has been broken, you can't use it again. So in most cases, if the hunter is at a relative distance to you, quite a big distance from you, don't drop the pallet and just keep on running. Maybe loop the same area again, and then maybe the next time you can close that pallet. By forcing the hunter to break the pallet, you're also giving yourself some more time to transition to the next point. So you might want to stand next to the downed pallet already to force the hunter to break the pallet to get to you. Now imagine you're a survivor and your teammate gets knocked down very close to you where you are. You're probably about 5 seconds away from being right next to where they're knocked down. And you know the hunter's about to pick them up. So you go, maybe if I go and distract the hunter, my teammate might be able to struggle free from the balloons. Well, don't do that. In most cases, if you're trying to get near a downed survivor or someone who's in the balloons and the hunter is around, obviously if they're carrying it with the balloons, the hunter has actually got the survivor, you should keep your distance, because if you get hit, you are now one hit away from getting knocked down, and that means you can't save, or at least you have a very low likelihood of being able to save correctly. There are some exceptions to this though. There are characters who should be near the hunter when a character is knocked down. These are characters that can harass, such as Wildling, Forward, and Cowboy. These characters are designed to harass, stun, and maybe delay the hunter as much as possible. A survivor like Cowboy can actually catch a character from the balloons and take them away from the hunter, preventing them from even showing them in the first place. So what you should do if someone is knocked down near you is to continue decoding and wait for them to get chaired and then go and rescue. And this leads me to my next thing that you shouldn't do. Never rescue immediately. Well, actually there are a couple of situations when you should do this against specific hunters, but in general, as a rule of thumb, don't rescue immediately. What you should do is you should rescue just before the halfway mark, or if the character has been chaired already, just before they get sent off by the rocket. By doing this, you're giving your time the most precious thing that they need, that is time. The more time the hunter is near the chair or is forced to keep an eye on the chair, the more time your team has to decode, and the more time you have to decode as well. Identity V is a time game. The less time the hunter has to get all of the survivors, the more chances the survivors have of winning. So by rescuing too early, you're giving your time less time to decode and giving the hunter more chances to go and explore the map and take down more characters. I do recommend that against some hunters you should rescue kind of immediately, and if you want to find out which the ones they are, then come and check out my stream where we can give you a good list, especially when there are new hunters coming out. It'll be very difficult for me to give them all to you now. Okay, continuing the topic of rescuing, there's a special character that is probably the most powerful character next to Sia in the current meta, and that is Mechanic. She is the best decoder. Now why, do you ask? It's because she actually counts as two bodies. She has her body, and then she has the bot, also known as George in the community. One of Mechanic's biggest benefits is even if she is chaired, if her robot is still standing somewhere in the map, she can continue decoding. It's as if there was nobody even chaired in the first place because there are still 4 people on the map. So don't rescue Mechanic straight away, because this gives her more time to decode with her bot. Usually people who play Mechanic will also take along the persona trait Snooze that you will see here. Snooze makes it so her time on chair is even longer, and this gives her more time to decode. So make sure to try and rescue the Mechanic a little bit later than you usually would. One thing that can really decrease your odds of winning is this: decoding the last cipher too quickly. Or I mean, at least too soon. By popping the cipher too soon, usually one of your teammates will be being chased by then. By popping the last cipher, you're giving the hunter his powerfulest or one of his powerfulest tools, detention. Detention gives the hunter the ability to have a double hit attack. So if you were fully healed, then you'll be instantly downed if he hits you. So by popping that last cipher, you're almost certainly guaranteeing that last person's chair. What you should do is, in most cases, most of the survivors will carry this persona trait called Borrow Time. What Borrow Time does is when the last cipher has been popped, the person who has the persona trait, possibly all of the members, will get a 0.5 heal. That means if you were on half health, you're now at full health. If you were down, you get to stand up and now you're at half health. And this happens instantly. So what you should do is you should wait until the hunter hits somebody, or for example, someone gets hit when rescuing, then you instantly pop the cipher and they get it. Everyone gets an instant heal and everyone gets to run away really quickly from the hunter, and it gives the hunter less chance to get someone chaired. To do this, you need to have the cipher at around 99%, maybe a little bit less. And it's a good idea to use the chat option that says cipher machine primed, so that everyone knows that they can go in to go and rescue and that they have that extra second life. One mistake that I see way too often, and it's a very common mistake, and it's against the hunter photographer. Now, photographer is very different than other hunters, and I'm sure they probably will add another hunter with this similar ability. Photographer deals 0.75 damage, not 0.5. There are many reasons to why this is important. For characters like Mercenary, once he is hit, he gets a timer to where he gets that damage actually put onto his body. If he gets the second hit, then he's still not instantly knocked down. He can still kite until his health bar hits the point where he gets knocked down. But against Photographer, technically, if he gets hit the second time, he's instantly downed because it has exceeded his health threshold. That's not the only mistake I've seen. The most important mistake, and the worst mistake that people make, is trying to heal each other when you're at 0.75 health. By healing yourself at 0.75 health, you're not actually healing yourself up to full. You're actually healing yourself up so that you have 75% health left, and that's still one hit away from being knocked down by Photographer. So by healing, you're actually just wasting your time. There's no benefit to it. The only character that can actually get rid of the extra 0.25% health is Doctor. So in most cases, if you get hit one time by the Photographer, focus on decoding and let someone who's at full health go and rescue. Another thing that you should be aware of is if someone has been chaired, they are put back to 0.5 and it is worth healing them. In my last tip that I said that you should never do, I talked about Mercenary. Now, for hunter mains or people who like to at least play hunters occasionally, you may be losing because of this one mistake, following characters like Mercenary at the beginning of a match. Now, Mercenary, First Officer, and a few other very good characters at taking hits can really delay your match progress. In most cases, if you see a Mercenary at the beginning of the game, do not follow them, because they will waste so much of your time. It takes 2 hits to get him down, and he doesn't get down instantly if you double hit him. He has 4 armbands that can make him run off distances. He will be kiting you for maybe 3 ciphers, possibly even more. What you should do is you should definitely focus on trying to find the decoders, or at least someone who might not be as powerful at kiting. This will give you a much higher chance of winning, because you will be able to get straight to knocking characters down and getting more presence much quicker. Do you look backwards when you kite? Well, if you don't, then stop doing that. One thing and one big mistake that I see a lot of beginner players and even people who have been playing the game for a while do is they don't look backwards when they're kiting. Why is this a problem? For many reasons, and I think they're quite obvious when you think about them. The hunter could be cutting you off. The hunter might have even changed target. You won't know, you're just running in a straight line. I recommend that when you're kiting that you look back every couple of seconds or even every other second to make sure that the hunter is behind you, at what distance he is. This can also help you with your pallet dropping skills because you can know if it's worth dropping the pallet or not doing it at all. And if you're lucky, the hunter may have moved on, so this will mean that you can actually get back to decoding faster because you're actually paying attention to where the hunter is. So don't worry about all of these mistakes. I make them too, and I still make them too, even to this day. These tips will definitely help you out so much, and they should give you some food for thought next time you play or get ready for your next match. Now, if there are any other mistakes that you know of, please write them down in the comments. But I have still got one more mistake that you're probably making, and it's the one that I talked about at the beginning of the video. Please, please don't emote outside of the exit gate. This is a big mistake that happens even in ranked matches, and still players do it, and they don't seem to learn. If you start emoting outside of an opened exit gate, the hunter could just teleport, hit you, and now you're down. What are you going to do? You could lose the match. This has happened to me. I've been knocked down and we've lost matches because I was emoting outside or spraying outside or just hanging out outside trying to see if someone was actually going to come or not. In most cases, it's better just to go inside the exit gate and emote as much as you want because you're safer there. If you found this video interesting, please leave a like down below and please subscribe if you'd like to see more videos on Identity V where you can learn some tips, some tricks, and maybe some information that you didn't know about the game. Take care, guys. Bye-bye.